Well, you think, Mike Lacey, think again. Not until this conversation ends are you really going to understand a deep look into his soul, because we're not just going to talk about his career. We're going to obviously focus on that, but learn about his life, the human side of Mike. And he joins me today on the Onto Something podcast. I'm Bryan Fenley, golf broadcaster, also with Fox Sports Radio. Mike, of course, does incredible work with PGA Tour Live, PGA Tour Entertainment, director there. And we're going to spotlight him, and it's going to be a lot of fun because people are going to learn about his story and also what makes him inspirational. Mike, I am so grateful to have you on. When it is tournament week and you are working those long hours, you have been in the throes of so much golf television coverage. In that, how has it made you a better golfer yourself when you are watching, when you are digesting all of this golf coverage as a director? How has that impacted your own golf game?
Oh, that is a question I wasn't expecting. That's good. Thanks for having me here, by the way. Was impacted. Stop thinking and just hit the ball. A lot of times there's so much talking, and I mean, what you see on TV, they're so precise. It's 183 yards. It's 184 yards. They're dialing it in. They're doing the wind. They're all that stuff. If it's 184 yards to me, that's it's a really hard 6-iron or five iron, depending on the conditions. But for me, it's just hit the ball. It's great what they do. But that's not real golf. That's professional golf. So totally big difference there.
So you're not overthinking. And I would think not overthinking is a good thing when it comes to directing, especially considering all the moving pieces, all the golfers that are on the course. Maybe you're focused on a marquee group, or maybe you're focused on a round in a tournament itself. But how are you able to sort of clear out all the moving pieces and focus on the task at hand so diligently?
So throughout my career, I just didn't start as a director. I was a cameraman before, and I've done a lot of different things. I did camera and golf. So I think that helps make it easy for me because I know what the camera people and the technicians are going through their minds and what they have to work through in the field. So I think my history of being a technician in the field helps me be a director because I can think like a technician in the field, a cameraman. So I think that helps a lot. So you can just, I stay in their mind, and when I direct for the camera people because I know, like, if you're super appreciative of what the people do, they're going to be super appreciative of you. So a lot of pleases and thank yous, and having to yell at them, scream. It's we're all in this together in scheme of things. It's just televised golf. But no, so I just like to take it easy, and I try to think 1 or 2 steps ahead, sometimes 3. I'll tell the TD, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take 5, then we're going to take 3, then we're going to take 5 again, and 3 is going to go get the hero, and then we're going to give enough time for 5 to repo to get the next shot. So I'll think a few shots ahead like that, and depending on the shot that happened or the shot that's going to happen, the next shot up, so on and so forth.
You're a director when it comes to work. How does your wife direct you at the house?
She does it very well. So funny you asked. So when I first started traveling in the mid 90s quite a bit, our son was younger, and I would come home and I'd be like, this is, we do this, we do this, we do this, we do this. She's like, no. You don't interrupt our routine. You have to do what we're used to do. I'm like, fine, perfect. You let me know what to do and I'll do it. So no, she's great. She's absolutely fantastic. And she's an angel.
What makes her an angel? Understanding the work and the line of work that she's in. She's a nurse and is taking care of people. But what inspiration do you glean from her that has made you better in your line of work?
I might tear up here, but she's my hero. She's caring and kind and considerate and selfless and loving and non-judgmental and giving and everything you could ask for positively in a person and a woman. That's my wife, Valerie. She's absolutely the best there is.
How has she been your cheerleader through the different steps of your career?
So we've had what we call lots of leaps of faith in our journey together and our work journey and so on and so forth. But we decided a long time ago that like because we did a lot of different things, not gonna say crazy things, but maybe out of the normal. We had both talked that we're not going to blame each other if this didn't work out, if that doesn't work out. It's nobody's fault. It is what it is. But so far, all the leaps of faith have worked out just fine. But no, she's great, and I couldn't ask for a better person.
Why do you think all those leaps of faith have been able to work out so well?
Positivity, thinking positive. So if somebody sees me wherever, they say, "Hey, Mike, how are you?" I say, "Never better." Every time it's never better, never better, never better, never better. Internally, sometimes that's not always the case, but externally, it's always never better, because the more positive you are, the more positive your results are going to be. My feeling anyway. So I remember I used to work on professional wrestling, and there was one of the wrestlers. He said, "How are you doing today, Mike?" And I said, "Never better." He's like, "I disagree with that statement." I said, "Why do you disagree with that statement?" I'm not going to name the wrestler's name. And he's like, "You're telling me that you're married?" I'm like, "Yes." "You have a child?" "Yes." He said, "You're better. You're better right now than the day your child was born." I said, "Yes, I'm better today than the day my child was born, the day I got married, everything, because it's all led me up to this moment that I'm having right now." So I might, yes. So everything that leads me up to this time in my life, I'm never better, because I made it this far, and that makes me happy, and just try to stay positive.
How early back can you find the origination or the origin of that outlook, and when it first became innate within you?
Never better. Um, Boy, I don't know. I've been saying it for a long time now. 20 years, 30 years I've been saying it. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. It's been time. I don't think there was anything specific that happened. Don't want to really get into my childhood too much, but yeah, never better is works for me. Yeah, it's a good mantra. It's a good thing to
After
say.
your, yeah, to your point, after childhood, and now when we look back at you getting your career off the ground, you worked in the shipping department of the
You did.
National Video Center. Those trying times, where do you think your career would have been going, where it was headed, if it weren't for those experiences you had there?
I tell you what, that was the National Video Center. If anybody gets a chance, you should just Google it. It went out of business in 2003, unfortunately. But they had just moved from a small place on the east side, I think 57th, 56th Street, the huge place, 42nd, 10th in Manhattan. Had a great time there, learned so much technically, had so much fun, so many laughs, which I try to continue through my career now and life in general. But if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I'd be. I literally don't know where I'd be. I couldn't tell you. I mean, I got out of college. I took a job at Dunkin' Donuts because I was a moron. Well, although my wife tells me at least you're more on than off. So anyway, so anyways, good job at Dunkin' Donuts. Overnights making the donuts. Hardest thing, I think you had 100-pound things of flour that you had to mix and all this stuff. It was ridiculous. I did that for 2 weeks. I'm like, well, I'm going to quit this job. They're going to fire me anyway because I really wasn't good at it. So I figured I better get my TV production skills that I went to State University in New York, New Paltz for, that I graduated in communications. I better try to get a job. And I went to New York City. I had 40 different production places, had three interviews, 2 job offers, and I picked the one at National. And that was in a week's time. And then, yeah, away we go from there.
Why didn't you get discouraged when you visited all those production companies? And maybe there were some people who didn't need the help and whatnot, but you kept pushing forward because you knew that you were going to find a destination ultimately.
I think it was just my mindset, and still is my mindset. Just, I don't know. One of my favorite sayings, and I came across this recently, and I'm not sure where it came from, but don't stumble over something behind you, which I really like and appreciate, because if you hold on to the past, it's just gonna drag you down, and you're gonna live in the past. So just try to let it go. Sometimes it's hard, right? Sometimes it's really hard, but just let it go and move on and see what the next thing is, because you're never better.
Mike Lacey joins me, director PGA Tour Live, PGA Tour Entertainment. I'm Bryan Fenley. This is the On to Something podcast. Now, when you were taking those experiences from the National Video Center, growing your career, building upon it, there was always that desire to want to be a director. And there were a lot of people that were like, not yet, not yet, not yet. But you kept pushing because you knew that you had the abilities within you to do that. What, again, going back to what I find is a common theme within you, Mike, is persistence. What in the back of your mind said, eventually I am going to get that opportunity to direct?
I probably thought that in the back of my mind, but I never said that out loud, but I always wanted to. And I remember specifically the first time it hit me. I was working at National Video Center. This is 1982. We're working on the advent of cable TV. It was for the daytime network, which is now the Lifetime network. And I was watching the directors, and it's not just, but 4 cameras, interviews, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, I could do that. So that's the first time I remember specifically that it hit me. And then, as you go along your career, shipping department, studio supervisor, cameraman, lighting director, right? Cameraman. Well, people get to know you as a cameraman or a lighting director or whatever you are, and it's kind of hard to make that move. Although a lot of camera people have gone on to be directors, but for me, it took a real long time. I taught myself how to TD. I became, I'm not saying I'm the best technical director in the world. I'm not the worst one either, but I could certainly hold my own. Taught myself how to TD, moved up, got from being in the terrible weather conditions that sometimes happen at golf tournaments inside the truck where it doesn't rain. So that's super bonus. And then, just, talking to different executive producers and wanting to do it. And they're like, no, I don't think so. I need to see you work before you work. And I remember I said to one executive producer, and he was new at the executive producer's job. I said, so you're executive producer? Yeah. I was like, oh, how do you like it? Oh, it's great. It's going real well. And this was after I asked him if I could direct it. He told me, no, I need to see some of your. I said, were you an executive producer before, or is this your first time doing it? I was like, no, this is my first time doing it. And I think I planted the seed, like, well, you have to start somewhere. You're starting here. Why not let me help you along the way? So that didn't go over too well, but no, it's been a long journey and longer than most, I think. I mean, I started in the business in 81. The first time I really directed anything was in mid 2000s. I'm gonna say, or somebody let me direct mid 2000s, sure. So yeah, it's taken a while, but I'm happy. Happy along the way. It's a great story.
When you got noticed that you were going to get that first opportunity, understanding all the time you'd put in, you paid your dues, you were patient, you were good at your job. How did you take in that moment when you learned for the first time, Mike, that what you were always looking to do and building up your career was now going to come to fruition?
So the very first time I got a chance to direct, I said, well, if I screw it up, I can still work. I don't have to, we'll see what happens, because you don't know until you do it, right? So my mindset was, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to do the best job I can do about it. And then, if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. So I really, it's like I didn't have anything to lose. That was my mindset. Maybe it was wrong, but that was my mindset.
How do you think, since that first time, your mindset in the control room has changed? How you've become a better director into what we see now currently on PGA Tour Live compared to what it was like when you were there and directing for the first time back in the early 2000s?
So it's funny you say that. So just about every day when I'm done directing, there's something comes up that I never experienced before. And I say, putting that in my back pocket. I've been through that now. I know what to do next time. I'm literally just about every day. Something comes up like that. It's like, oh, okay. It's all a learning experience. And the thing about television, it's all art, right? So what you put on TV, it's art. Can art be wrong? People can disagree with it. People might not like it, but it's art. So I don't think it can be wrong in what you do. Sometimes it's terrible what you do if you make a bad mistake, right? But yeah, I just learned from whatever happened, good, bad, and different. And I just like, okay, and next time I know how to take care of that situation. And it just happens literally every time I direct.
As your career has gone full blast off mode, I want to get to what it was like directing a rocket launch.
Communication Concepts, Cape Canaveral, Florida, was very kind to me and let me direct one of my first directing. And so I made a deal with them. I would work for them doing whatever, helping them in the studio, technical working, camera work. If they ever had any directing jobs, they'd let me know. So I got to direct some basketball for them, and then rocket launches. And the rocket launches are pretty basic. A lot of times you take the feed from NASA or whoever the provider is, and you have your studio people that they talk about what's going on, and you take the feed. You have some other options. You have the network feed of all the cuts, and then you have some other feeds that you can take and cut in there. But it's really exciting, and I don't know if you've ever seen a rocket launch. It's really cool to see one in person, and it's really pretty neat to work on one behind the scenes. For sure. A lot of technical terms that I still don't understand, but very interesting for sure.
I want to leave you with this last question. Mike Lacey is with me. I'm Bryan Fenley, director of PGA Tour Live, PGA Tour Entertainment. This is the On to Something podcast. When you think about everything that you do, work-related, non-work related, Mike Lacey as a human being, what does he become in the control room that we don't see from him in any other area of his life?
What you see is what you get. I don't change. I'm do puns, but I do a ton of puns when we're on camera, when we're at work. But yeah, I don't think I changed much. I'm Mike Lacey. Yeah.
Mike Lacey, authentic, real, optimistic, talented, hardworking. You never, and I asked you this earlier, I want to finish up. I mentioned this, but what is your golf game like? Because I know you played growing up. You forgot to give me sort of like a lowdown of your actual score breakdown here. You don't think you're going to get off this interview without telling me what you're shooting these days?
Right. Well, I actually haven't played golf in a really long time. Probably a year or so. Yeah. It's been less than a year. Pandemic hit. I remember I was playing a lot. I was playing like every other week for 9 holes. And I remember at one point I birdied 2 out of 3 holes. And I was 2 under through 5 holes. So I was pretty happy, and then I exploded to whatever. So I say I'm good for anywhere from 100 and under, 85, whatever, somewhere in that range. Yeah. Plus, as you get a little older, the courses get longer. So, the game starts to get a little bit more rusty as we go along. Or for me, it does anyway. So
Mike Lacey, he might shoot over par on the golf course in real life, but when it comes to what he does in golf broadcasting, that man is scratch. He is under par. That's the kind of talent he brings to PGA Tour Live and PGA Tour Entertainment. Mike, I'm Bryan Fenley. Thanks so much for doing this. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks so much, Bryan. I certainly enjoyed myself. I'm glad we got in contact with each other. It's great. Thank you so much.